Stu Armstrong with interviews that pack a punch.
Hello and welcome to Radio Northumberland. My name is Stu Armstrong and this is the Stu Armstrong interview, where on each show I interview someone from the world of combat sports, and one thing's for sure, my interviews will always pack a punch. My background, as you may know, is that of the author of the Diaries of Dorman series of books and the patron of the charity that Choose Lives Not Knives. This week's brave soul, who's agreed to let me grill them for your listening pleasure, is someone I know very well, Steve Carnage Carney. That's who started the charity that I'm now patron of, Choose Lives Not Knives, and who was making a brave foray into the world of becoming a bare knuckle boxer, believe it or not, at the age of 37. So Steve, bare knuckle boxing, what's it all about then? What makes it different to traditional glove boxing?
Oh, it's more purer. You don't have to sport that you can get. It's pure.
Yeah. And is that, you think it's more, I mean, I've always took it that there seems to be a lot less punches thrown, but one punch does a lot more damage.
One punch can determine a fight.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
Well, I know that you're quite a big B-Bad bare knuckle boxing fan. What are the best fights that you've seen so far in B-Bad BKB?
Stu, there's been so many. I suppose the best so far has been Bradford and Seth Jones.
The one at Bradford?
Yep. And the one before, the one in Holyhead. The two of them have been absolutely fantastic. Yeah. Two top guys and two top fighters with big hearts, eh?
I seen the second one at Bradford, and it was one hell of a fight. I mean, obviously, two full-on legends there, and all of a sudden one of the men were unconscious.
Yep, and I spoke to two men after the fight. Seth's hands were badly broken. Hearts of lions, for sure.
Well, the thing that got me is half an hour after that, I walked to the bar and there's Seth Jones, suited and booted, standing there having a drink. I had a nice chat with him, and you wouldn't think that he'd just been knocked unconscious and he had broken hands. So definitely heart like a lion.
Mm-hmm.
Who would you rate as probably the best bare knuckle boxers in the UK at the moment?
What I would say is one to watch that's really coming up is Michael Ferry now.
Yeah.
He's got a fight coming up the 21st of February. I've watched him fight a couple of times. He doesn't speak a lot, but I don't think he needs to speak a lot, because when you watch him in the ring, he does always talking in the ring. Absolutely fantastic fella, and I reckon he's going to be one to watch for sure.
I think is that for a title fight?
Yep, he's fighting Craigie Marr, which again is a top bloke, and I've watched him fight, but I've watched Michael and following Michael very closely, and it's watched this space.
Yeah, I'll tell you right what you say there. He certainly does do his talking in the ring. And I mean, a similar question: who would you rate to be the best bare knuckle fighters in the world at the moment?
There's a few. You've got your James Quinn, again Michael Ferry, still Dave Radford, still the old boys, which was the Bulldog.
Leicester Bulldog, I think that was.
Yes,
yeah.
Aye. There's good boys out there. It's your preference, isn't
it?
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it's always going to be Gypsy Boy James McCrory. I know it's local, but I mean, the man's a bit of a legend to me. I mean, as a lot of people know, I sponsor James, but to me, just a full-on legend.
The reason I didn't mention him is because everybody knows him anyway.
Yeah,
and I wear his tops weekly. You know what I mean? He's a young legend, and he handles it very well. He handles the fame very well. That man will do whatever he wants to do.
You're right there. I hope you wash these tops when you wear them weekly, mate. Who do you think are the up-and-coming stars of BKB?
Scott Midgley.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I watched his fight in Newcastle when I was used to.
Yeah.
I've never seen a man do what Scott done. For him to, the way that fight happened, I've never seen a man like that. I mean, he went on instinct, and I definitely think he's definitely one for watching coming up in the BKB world.
Well, the fight at in Newcastle, I remember rightly, getting to the first round, he actually snapped the bone in his ankle.
Yes, and he stood back up.
Scott's quite an interesting bloke. I mean, I know Scott quite well. Really respect his fighting, and I agree he's a long way to go. Scott is actually doing an interview with us for the show for Radio Northumberland in a few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be a good one to listen to.
Yep, I've had a few punches off Scott, and I can say he's a very hard hitter for sure.
Well, I've been to the pub with him, and I know we can drink.
No comment on that
one. So, perfect world, the ultimate, the dream BKB fight, who would it be for you?
It's the one that's up and coming in April, which is Ken Shamrock and James Quinn. I've watched on Facebook and all different media sites, the folk slagging Ken and there's folk saying things about James. What I would ask people today is take a step back and do a bit of research on Ken Shamrock and do a bit of research on James Quinn. I respect the two of them and I love the two of them very dearly. Two top men in their own rights,
Yeah.
and people should really give the credit what credit's due for what fight is coming.
Well, I've got to say I'm quite a fan of James Quinn, and I've had little friends with him, and to me, full-on legend. I didn't know a great deal about Ken Shamrock until I did some research for last week's show when I interviewed him, and he really has grown on me and he's done a lot more than I thought. So let's have a prediction. Call the fight, Steve.
I'm not going to call the fight. I mean, I've spoke to James, I've had a good laugh with James. Ken Shamrock had his toy figure, so I can't call that fight. What I will say, it will be very, very interesting to watch it for sure.
Will you be at that fight?
I'll definitely be at that fight 100%, and good luck to both men.
Great stuff. You can buy me a beer when we're there then. You meant to say it to me, you call it as well then.
Yeah, go and call it.
The greatest of respect after I've been speaking to Ken Shamrock, lovely bloke, and I don't doubt his ability whatsoever, but for me it's going to be James Quinn. For the fact that looking at a lot of Ken's fights, I don't think he's the puncher. I mean, if it was grappling or wrestling or it was MMA, I think James may struggle a little bit, but with boxing, the speed of James's hands, but who knows, it can always change on the day, can't it?
Yep, definite.
Stu Armstrong with interviews the Packer Punch.
We know that you've got your first bare knuckle boxing match on the 21st of February, the NA6 Street in Newcastle. How did this come about? Because I believe you're not a fighter at the present.
No, fan, always been right behind B-Bad. It was always going to be a natural progression that I was going to go into the bare knuckle boxing, because obviously the charity, I'm sure we're going to talk about that, we Choose Life No Knives, it's to promote that, and of other reasons. I've always wanted to do it as a young laddie. I've done street fighting, it was just always going to be a natural progression for me.
Yeah. Do you know who your opponent is that you'll be fighting in February? What experience they've got?
I don't know the lad personally. His name's Stephen Wayne, and I think, or what I've heard of, and I'm not being disrespectful when I say this, I think he's one of the young lads round about Newcastle.
I'm not sure. Well, I know he's from South Shields, but I don't know a great deal about him. I believe your opponent, Stephen, he's a lot younger than you. Do you think this will work for you or against you?
I think it'll work for me. Young lads these days, I don't think they know what respect or loyalty or anything is, and I don't think they know how to fight properly. So I think it'll work in my favour.
Brave words there, Steve. Now, keeping it nice, have you got any message to your opponent?
I wish the lad every luck in the world, and what I would say is, come and knock me out, because on the night I'm going to do the exact same.
Great stuff. So we're going to have two unconscious fighters. Right, that's going to be quite a decent night then. So Steve, what's your training schedule like for your up-and-coming fight?
I'm doing weights every day. I take one day off a week, which is a Sunday at the moment. Cardio, weight training. I haven't been doing sparring, but I'm going to be starting that shortly, and that'll be once a week. It's very intense. I didn't realise the training would be as hard as what it has been, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, you obviously are training hard, Steve. I've known you for quite some time, but I've never seen you for a month or so, and to be honest, you're like a completely different bloke to me.
Yep, I keep getting told that, but it's just, you've got to, if you put it in, you get it out, eh?
Very true. Steve, can I ask you now, is there any truth to the rumour that you're the only boxer ever in history to be knocked out when shadow boxing?
More than once, more than once.
So have you had to change your diet when in training, Steve? Have you had to give up the iron brew and the battered Mars bars?
I've never ate a battered Mars bar, but what I will say, I definitely, I like a drink, I like a good curry, I like a kebab. Yeah, you definitely got to watch what you're eating and drinking, definite for sure.
Can't go wrong with a good old dirty kebab, that's what I say. What do your family think of you sort of all of a sudden morphing into a bare knuckle boxer?
They've always known me as a character as what I am anyway, so they always known that I've had a fighting background. I wouldn't say they're 100%, but what I would do is give a big shout out to my youngest daughter, which is Mackenzie Kearney, because she's been a very, very good personal trainer to us, and she's backed us up 110%. So big up to you, Mark.
I've got to say, kids, they certainly keep you on form. I think you can't just mention one of your kids though, Steve, you'll have to mention the rest of them, because I'll get grief off the daughter that I know.
Our Chelsea, she's 100% behind us. She's definitely wanting to come. Circumstance, we'll see. If she can come, definitely she'll come. Our Taylor, she's B-bad through and through. Taylor has Down syndrome, I don't know if a lot of you people know that, but she loves B-bad, she loves the bare knuckle boxing, and absolutely been fantastic, the lot of them.
Well, to be fair, I mean, out of your family, I've only really met your mum and I've met your daughter at Chelsea. It wouldn't surprise me if she would give you a run for the money in the ring.
But my mother, I wouldn't fight her in the ring.
Oh, I wouldn't fight your mother when I was talking about Chelsea. So, who makes up team? Well, it's probably not a fair question this, as I already know the answer, but who makes up Team Kenny and who are your corner men going to be?
My corner men, well, as you know, is yourself, Stu, and a great man that I'm a big, big fan of, and I haven't mentioned him, maybe I should have mentioned him early on, is Clifford Gray, a big, big hero of mine. I've always said I always started in B-Bad as Team Gray. Absolutely, and yourself, top men. I can't ask for a better corner than what I've got.
So is Clifford a bare knuckle fighter as well for B-Bad, is he?
Oh yeah, and he got me into bare knuckle boxing properly. Ken, he's hard as nails and an absolute proper gentleman.
I've got to say, I mean, I don't know Clifford as well as you. I've seen him fight, but on the last B-Bad bare knuckle boxing event in Bradford, I was on the same table as Clifford and his wife. We honestly say what an absolutely lovely couple they were.
Yep.
Really, really nice. I mean, Clifford asked if he could buy one of my books, but I mean, it's Clifford Gray, I wasn't going to charge him. So he's obviously got good taste, as he seems to like my books.
He's an absolute gentleman. His fight in Newcastle, he lost that fight. Again, Clifford has not been well. He's back on track now, he's 110%. I would say watch 2015 again for Clifford Gray.
Yeah.
100%.
I've got to say, in that fight, I mean, it's a hard one. I mean, I've ended up friends with Clifford, but the opponent he was fighting was another friend of mine, Billy Hawthorne. Respect for both of them. Oh my God, Billy, he punches like a train, that lad. And how Clifford goes, I mean, he was giving as good as his get, but how he could take those punches, it's...
The two of them, if you watch that fight, the two of them hurt one another. And I watched Billy fight in Bradford, and I'd watched Billy and I thought, yep, average fighter. Then when I watched him in Bradford, I seen that boy hit the other fella that he was fighting. He taken that lad 2 foot off the ground, and when I seen that, I was absolutely blown away. I mean, that lad's another one to watch. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I've got to say, one of the questions I asked you before, Steve, was who do you think are the up and coming sort of fighters in bare knuckle? And for me, all the way, it's going to be Billy Hawthorne.
100%.
Underestimates him even. He's not the typical size and build you'd expect for a boxer or a bare knuckle boxer, but I've seen quite a lot of Billy's gloved fights as well. And by God, he's good. And the power on his punch, I've seen nothing like it.
I don't know if I should say this or not, but I'll tell you who Billy puts me in mind of
is... He always edit it out afterwards if it's no good.
Is the Pitbull.
He does me as well.
He definitely does. I mean, the Pitbull is not your typical bare knuckle boxer, but great boxer. Ken, if you look back at them, and Billy does remind me of that, and I believe Billy's going to be one of the greats. I definitely.
Can I just say though, bearing in mind, I've said the punching power of Billy Hawthorne is just unreal. So from my point of view, can I just say you're much better looking than Pitbull, Billy? I don't want one of your punches anytime soon. So there's quite a lot of stuff written on social media, Facebook, Twitter and whatnot, about sort of up and coming fights. There's quite a lot of rumours going around that being the good, respectful Scotsman as you are, you'll be fighting in a kilt. Is that correct?
Absolutely not. Nah, I can't afford the kilt. Being a Scotsman that I am. No, I did think about it to begin with, but no, I don't think that's appropriate attire for bare knuckle boxing.
Well, if you're confident enough that you're not getting knocked out, then really you've got nothing to worry about. People saying up the kilt.
That's why I can't wear a kilt, because it just hang down. It'd be too much, eh?
I think that's enough for a family show, don't you? So, I mean, I think we've touched on it a little bit before. Have you had any boxing experience from your younger days?
Briefly, as in 8 to 10, but a lot of mine has been street fighting, so
Yeah.
it's not. I haven't had a lot of experience, no.
More of a serious bit of a rumour and a story I've heard. I've heard a story that during a B-Bad show back in the day, there was a fight that's supposed to turn up to fight Scott Midgley. I mean, Scott's a well-known fighter, he's got a hell of a fighter, up and coming, he's really good. But the lad he was meant to be fighting was a no-show. And this isn't Scott's words, not anybody else's. A certain tattooed Scotsman just jumped into the pit. Do you know anything about this?
Yeah, that was me. And again, people that weren't there didn't realise what happened that night. But I jumped into the pit expecting to fight somebody else, but it ended up being Scott. Once I was in the pit, I'd rather have pins put in my eyes than jump back out the pit. If you're saying you're going to do something, then you've got to do it. I knew Scott was going to give us a good hiding, and fair play did. What do you do? But I made good friends that day, so I can't really complain.
That's it. I mean, I'm friends with Scott as well, but Scott speaks very highly. He's got so much respect for you for that night, and he always says, "Oh, what are you getting in for, Steve? I didn't want. I knew it was going to hurt him, but I didn't want to. But that's part of the game, I think."
That's it.
So, is this just a one-off fight, or are you looking to pursue a career in bare knuckle boxing?
I'm not going to answer that now. What I'm going to say is watch this space. Let's see how this fight goes. And lightweight's just coming into bare knuckle boxing now, so it's a very interesting time. So let's just watch and see what happens.
BKB is going to become more mainstream, and if you do, how do you think this will be achieved?
It's happening. It is coming. Ken, you've already done your Ken Shamrock interview. And UFC cage fighting, that was underground, not underground, but it wasn't mainstream. That started on the internet. I've watched all that growing up. I'm watching BKB, B-Bad do the exact same. I do believe, in my heart of hearts, and 100% behind it, it will be mainstream. And Joe Smith, he's just got to carry on doing what he's doing. The fans have got to carry on doing what they're doing, and so do the fighters, and it will be massive. I do believe that, 100%.
Do you think that the way, especially B-Bad, I mean, it's one of the biggest promotion companies for bare knuckle boxing, they've migrated to fighting in rings rather than pits or within hay bales? What do you think of that?
It's hard. I prefer the hay bales, but it's true. What do you do? Do you want to push the sport forward, or do you stay the same and keep it the way it is? In life, to move on, you've got to appreciate change. That's what bare knuckle boxing is doing. It doesn't matter whether I agree with it or not. If you want it to go mainstream, if you want it to be bigger, you've got to move with the flow.
I mean, in my personal point of view, I think it is becoming up there. It's going to become mainstream. But I don't think that could have happened if the fights were still in pits or if the fights were still in hay bales. Do you think it's going to make a difference at the fighting in rings?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the boxer's always going to have a better advantage from being in a ring to a pit. The only reason I liked a pit because it was so small and it was toe to toe. Nobody could move. But as I said, I'll go back and saying a proper bare knuckle boxer will stand in the middle of the ring and he'll go toe to toe with a guy. Look at Scott and Aaron when they had their fight. Them boys, they could have jumped about, they never. They stood in the middle of the ring and they done what they had to do.
I don't know if Scott could have jumped about on that fight, isn't that one where he snapped his ankle?
Stu Armstrong with interviews that pack a punch.
Steve, I think everybody that knows you, and I think a few people that know me as well, will be aware of the tragic loss of your son Leon. I think you started a charity called Choose Lives Not Knives in memory of Leon to raise awareness of knife crime in young people. Will you be fighting for this charity at your upcoming fight? And if you are, do you expect to raise any funds through the fight?
Oh, 100%. I did. I said earlier in the interview that the main reason I'm fighting is to raise awareness for Choose Life No Knives. I spoke to Joe. We'll be raising money that night on the 21st of February for Choose Life No Knives. Joe's already given a kind donation. It's all about, for me, Choose Life No Knives. So I hope everybody gives generously.
Let's hope so. Is that Joe?
B-Bad.
Joe B-Bad, yeah.
Yep.
Funny enough, we've got Joe B-Bad, who runs the B-Bad Bare Knuckle Promotion Company. He's one of the driving forces and sort of making this mainstream. On the morning of Steve's fight, the 21st, which is in Newcastle, I've got Joe coming into the studio, which I think will make quite an interesting interview as well. We've just touched on the fact that you're starting to choose Lives Not Knives in Leon's name. Would you like to tell us a little bit about it? I know it's a bit of a hard thing for you to talk about, but it is good to get the message out there. By all means, if you don't want to, then...
No, my son was killed in 2012 to knife crime, a story that I'm not really going to go into, but he was stabbed 11 times through an altercation. He died in my arms, virtually tore my family apart. He left 2 young girls behind. The first year I was absolutely devastated. I'd done all things that maybe I shouldn't have done, and my family paid for it. And
well, I think it's, it is obviously a painful subject for you to talk about. I do some work for the charity with you as well. A couple of months ago, Radio Northumberland, myself and Steve were both invited in by Paul Green, and we did a show just talking all about the charity. And it is a heart-wrenching story, which Steve does go through that then, and I'm sure that will be played at some point on Radio Northumberland. The name of the show is Choose Lives Not Knives. There was many listeners will know, I interviewed Ken Shamrock recently. I know that he left you a message for the Choose Lives Not Knives campaign, but I've heard you're a bit of a huge Shamrock fan. Were you pleased about this?
oh, most definitely, I was over the moon. I was smiled for days after it. As a child, I grew up watching Ken Shamrock in WWE. As I said, and when I watched him going into MMA, I had his action figure. My Leon here, his action figure. I was overwhelmed.
So after you heard this, did it make you want to get this Ken Shamrock action figure out? And have you still got the ring and things like that, or just Ken Shamrock?
I was playing in the bath tonight with Ken Shamrock.
One more question. On the 25th of April, in the work that I do to help you with Choose Lives Not Knives, I've organised a fundraising event at the Fox Hunters in Whitley Bay, which will give people a chance to firewalk or walk across hot coals, whichever way that you want to talk it. Will you be doing the firewalk, Steve?
100%, yes. My daughter Chelsea were doing it as well, and I've heard a lot of B-Bad fighters in the stables are going to be doing it. There's some big people. James McCrory, he's going to be hosting that night, which is absolutely fantastic. Anybody that wants to meet him, Stu, you're going to be there yourself. There's going to be big names there, and anybody that wants to do it, they're going to have to start registering now to make sure that they have time to get there.
Right. We'll give out details of how to register at the moment, and more about Choose Lives Not Knives. Just when you mentioned James McCrory there, I got in touch with James and asked if he would host this event for the charity, and the reply I got back was simply, yeah, no bother mate, just tell us what you want us to do. And as I said to him, basically I want to try and sort of prostitute your name to get people there. Yeah, that's fine, it's a great cause, I know Steve, I know you, just tell us what I've got to do. And I think that very often, I don't know what you think, within B-Bad, BKB, that seems to be what a lot of the fighters and the fans are like.
I will still go back to B-Bad. I always say B-Bad family, but folk have asked me before, you travel all around the country to watch BKB. It costs a lot of money. I don't see it, I'm going down to see fans or fighters. To me it's an extended family, and it always will be. And long may it continue, to be honest with you.
Well, I've seen a lot written about this B-Bad family and the hashtags B-Bad for life, and I don't go in for all that kind of thing. It's cheesy American sort of stuff to me. But I got quite a shock at my first bare knuckle event, because that's exactly what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Stu Armstrong with interviews that pack a punch.